Hey folks, welcome back to Failure Retirement. So guys, just out here in the garage today, kind of a drippy afternoon. Not going to do anything outside anymore. So what I realized earlier is I had a couple new little Smith Miller trucks that were pretty quick hit, I think, project wise. They just need a little bit of work and they can go up on the shelf somewhere. So let me turn the camera around and I'll show you what I got going on. Hang on. So I had these two little green cab overs that I showed you in a recent video, and that was quick. And quite honestly, I don't remember if it was a short or what the case was. But this one, it was the one with the rusty wheels. So it's been showed a couple times. So I took those wheels off. You can see how bent those axles are anyway. Pulled the wheels off, got them soaking in evaporust. They've been in there, I think today is the second or third day they've been in evaporust. It's a product I've used before. It works great on small parts for rust, as long as you can get them in some sort of tub. In this case, it was easy, mason jar, and just let them soak for a couple days. It'll do amazing things. So the wheels are there. On these cab overs, you have to pull the cab off to get the front wheels off. So I went ahead and shined it up. You can look at that other video where I was showing the wheels, the Nylon truck video, the Hertz van video, and you can see how dull that cab was. I'm really happy with the way it cleaned up and shined up. This other one, I still haven't done anything. It's the way I got it. You can see the dust right there. So that's the way I got it. So what's failure up to? So these two trucks obviously didn't come with beds. A lot of these little, especially the earlier Smith Miller trucks, had wooden beds that over the years they broke off and got lost or whatever. So failure just happened to have a really nice piece of clear Douglas fir. Out here in the West, Douglas fir is really common construction wood. But I have this Douglas fir clear that I buy from Lowe's and use a lot for shelving and just different things around the house. Really like it, much stronger than pine. So I'm going to take that, I think, and I'm going to make a couple beds. And then I got in the interweb, found some pictures of these trucks with the right beds, did a little scaling, and just from photos on the internet. And so that's where I'm figuring out what size. Unfortunately, I don't have an original example of one of these beds I need. I've looked on the Evil Bay and there really isn't anything at the moment except for a couple trucks with beds. So, well, I'm not going to say where I got the photos to do the scaling, but well, there you go. So I got to get my tooling set up. Not even sure that I'm going to get any further really today beyond getting the tooling set up. And then we'll continue on with the video when I start making parts. So, change of plans. I was making the bed and I made some adjustments to my joiner because this piece of Doug fir that I was going to use, it's 3/4 inch thick, but I needed to get it down to a 1/2 inch thick. So I made sure my joiner was tuned up and ready for that. Went to look for a scrap piece to run through there, and I found this piece of poplar that was already a 1/2 inch. And I've used a lot of poplar making Smith Miller parts before, so we're going to go with the poplar. Okay, so it's been quite a bit of time measuring, cutting, test fitting, all of that. One thing I got going on here is lots of times if you're going to make something, it's not much longer, not much harder to make two. And in this case, with these two trucks, there's, I believe, a year variation. So the year variation in the beds is like kind of like one little simple thing. So that's the way I'm going to end up making it. So these beds are going to be identical except for one detail. I did not film myself cutting and making all these parts in the interest of time, but I did have to go to Lowe's and get a little more poplar. I got some 1x3 by half and some 1x3, or sorry, 3/4 by 3, and I cut that down into 1-inch strips, ran it through the joiner, smoothed up the saw cut edge a little bit, did some sanding all around, cut each bed has 3 different radiuses here. Actually, I went ahead and used the same radius, but anyway, 3 radius cuts. I cut on the bandsaw and then sanded it out. So there it is. I have to round the corners of the beds. And the next step here is to drill some pilot holes. Smith Miller, it looked like in the pictures I've seen, used some pretty big diameter finish nails to hold this all together. I think I'm probably going to depart from them there. I'm going to use a few pin nails to hold it together, and I'm going to use at least 4, maybe 6 screws just to hold it all together. The screws will make it way stronger. Not that I really expect, these to get broken, but I'm doing it. I'm here. Now's the time. And I'm going to kind of try to hide the screws best I can. There may be 1 or 2 showing. So let me drill some pilot holes and we'll move on. Okay, folks, it's been a week or so already since I last worked on this and filmed any of it. I don't know where the time goes. I'm retired. Who knows? Disappears. Anyway, I got the 2 beds pretty well made. I'll show you. So I did put screws in, like I mentioned earlier, but I did it in a way I'll show at the very end where I think you can kind of only really see 2 of them. And again, they used like a big finish nail to hold these together. Is it any wonder that, I don't know what it is, 80 years later or something, 60, 70 years later, that those beds came apart, got broken? So here's the parts. I made 2 new axles for this truck that had the rusty hubcaps. Still not sure. I'm going to put it back together like this. I don't know for sure what I'm going to do with that just yet. And then the one bed gets the side rails. So these 2 rods here are the side rails. And these are the screws that I use to hold the bed together. These 4 little screws here will hold the beds on the trucks. So I've got everything here. I just need to make those rails real quick. And then mostly this truck just needs to be put together. So, and then also, I didn't show it, but I used a couple finish nails here. You can't even see these really hardly, but a couple in here. So I'll put a little putty on those holes, and then I'm going to put, I think, a real light stain on those, but we'll see. I haven't quite decided for sure. But I like to put a little bit of color on them because I think it makes them look more aged rather than brand new. So I'll get that figured out and I'll get back with you. All right, I'm running out of day here, but I did go ahead and put this one back together. I'll have to take the 2 screws out so I can stain it. But I just wanted to show you kind of what that looks like up close and how really like 2.5 screws show out of all those screws I put in to hold it together. So I'm pretty happy with that. I think it's a lot more solid than they were originally. So I will take that artistic license when I get a chance. Still don't know about them hubcaps, if I'll replace them, paint them, leave them. Leave a comment if you have an opinion, and I'll get back to you as soon as these are done. Thanks. Okay, folks, so here we have it. I finally, I think, have these two GMC green Chevy material trucks pretty well wrapped up. I made the original loads for them, as you can see. I'm gonna call it original, since the best information I had to go on was that the trucks came with 3 barrels, 3 crates, and 18 boards. Also, the only other real thing I had to go on was an illustration that showed that at least some of the boards stuck past the end of the bed. And then I was also kind of going on the green Chevy that I made the boards for, and so I made a dozen of these boards the same exact size as a green Chevy, because for manufacturing that just makes sense to me. Then I used a little artistic license, figured out that some of the boards should probably be different sizes, maybe a little bigger. I don't know, I'm not, now that it's done, I feel like the load feels a little bulky. So maybe I should have just made 18 of those boards and just made a few of them a little longer. I don't know. This is gonna have to do it, I think. I can always come back later and make some different boards if I decide that's what needs to be done. But you can see the difference in the two beds. First version of this bed didn't have sideboards, and then the later version, which I believe was 47 or 48, they added the side rails. And the one collector guide, they called them chrome side rails. I've seen these trucks around with the side rails. They didn't look like they were ever chrome to me, but I just used stainless rod that I got from the jungle and just made my own. So there we go. I'm kind of happy to have this off my plate. Pretty happy with the way they turned out, at least for now. And I appreciate you guys watching. As always, we'll see you next time on Failure Retirement. Have a good day.